last king we're going to discuss is King Jehu, son of Nimshi of the Northern Kingdom. Jehu stands as one of the most fascinating and controversial figures in the history of ancient Israel. His story is primarily recorded in 1 Kings 19:16 to 17, and then in 2 Kings 9 to 10, where he emerges as a military commander chosen by God to overthrow the house of Ahab and establish a new dynasty. Unlike most kings of the Northern Kingdom, Jehu received a positive evaluation from God and was granted a dynastic promise. Jehu came to power during a turbulent period in Israel's history in the 9th century BC. The Northern Kingdom had been ruled by the powerful Omri, yung si Omri, tatay ni King Ahab, founded by Omri and expanded by his son Ahab. Through political alliances and marriage, Ahab's family exerted significant influence over both Israel and Judah. Note, no? Si King Ahab, muntik niya na, no? Di ba nahati yung kingdom? Dahil sa impluensya ni King Ahab, muntik niya pang i-unite, no? I-unite. Bagamat sa Judah, ang hari doon si Jehoshaphat, no? Pero dahil nga doon ay ang mga political alliances by marriage. So, si Jehu's rise to power was not merely a political revolution, but a divinely ordained mission. God first instructed Elijah to anoint Jehu as king over Israel. Yun yung first part na makikita na ma-encounter natin si Jehu sa First at saka Second Kings. Although Elijah did not personally carry out the task, si Elisha later sent a prophetic message to anoint Jehu secretly. So si Elisha, si Eliseo ang nagpatuloy nitong sabihin natin patupad, no? Nitong bilin ni Yahweh para kay Jehu. At ang utos nito is to destroy the house of King Ahab. Pag na-destroy niya yon, si Jehu yung papalit as king. This prophetic anointing distinguished Jehu from most northern kings. Only a few rulers in Israel's history, such as Saul and David, received such as direct prophetic authorization. Sa time ni Saul at David, si Prophet Samuel. Sa time ni Solomon, si Prophet Nathan, di ba? The narrative emphasizes that Jehu did not initiate his rebellion independently. Rather, God called and commissioned him to execute divine judgment. At in some ways, at the guidance of Elisha, Prophet Elisha. After receiving the prophetic message, Jehu's fellow officers immediately recognized his kingship and proclaimed him ruler over Israel. And somehow, we would be reading between the lines. Paano kaya biglang naging hari itong si Jehu? We go back sa time ni Jeroboam. Si Jeroboam also received prophetic backing from Prophet Ahijah. At yung discontent ng mga tao sa pamumuno ni Hari Solomon na hindi rin nagustuhan yung pamumuno ni Rehoboam. So somehow, kahit na maraming hindi nasabi yung author ng Second Kings, somehow makikita natin yung semblance kung paano nagkaroon ng makapangyarihang followers si Jehu. Na time na to, he was a commander pa lang. And so yung primary mission, no, mauna to, of course, bago siya kilalaning hari, kailangan mauna to. Jehu is best known for the dramatic and violent events that accompanied his rise to power. Acting swiftly, he confronted King Jehoram, na anak ni Ahab of Israel, and killed him with an arrow. He then ordered the death of King Ahaziah of Judah, who was allied with Ahab's family through marriage. So, tingnan nyo ito, si Jehu, yung mga anak ni King Ahab at saka ni King Jehoshaphat, pareho na silang, sabihin natin, hindi na sumusunod kay Yahweh. At nagkaroon ng time si Jehu ay na-encounter niya itong dalawang ito, si Jehoram at saka si King Ahaziah, no? Na pareho niyang napatay. So lumalabas si King Ahab para siyang King Slayer, no? Kasi hindi lang isa kung hindi dalawang hari. Dalawang hari ang napatay ni King Jehu. Again, that is a message of judgment para sa Northern at saka Southern Kingdom. Now, the judgment continued with the execution of Jezebel. So, hindi lang sino ba to? Si Jehoram at saka si Ahaziah, kung hindi pati si Queen Jezebel na asawa ni Ahab, yung masamang reyna. Her death fulfilled Elijah's prophecy that dogs would consume her body. So Jehu then orchestrated the killing of 70 sons of Ahab and numerous supporters of the royal family. Kasi pag titignan natin, pag nagpatuloy yung paghahari ng mga anak ni Ahab, no? Magpapatuloy din yung uri ng Baal worship na sinimulan ni Jezebel. At yung paghahari din ni King Ahab ay magpapatuloy dito sa pamamagitan ng mga anak. So, kailangan i-wipe out ito para uncontested yung paghahari ni Jehu. Perhaps the most famous episode of Jehu's reform was his destruction of Baal worship in Israel. Using strategic deception, he gathered the worshippers of Baal into a temple under the pretense of holding a great religious celebration. Once they assembled, Jehu ordered their execution and destroyed the temple. Parang naalala natin yung kay Samson, Yung they were also gathered together and they were they were showing a mockery, na judge ng Panginoon, who is Samson. So how do we evaluate or how do we understand the evaluation of Jehu? He is one of the most remarkable features. No? Sabi dito, because you have done well in carrying out what is right in my eyes. No? Nag-iisa ito sa among the northern kingdoms. Si King Jehu lang ang nakatanggap ng ganitong papuri. Galing kay Yahweh. No? And have done in the house of Ahab all that was in my heart. Your descendants shall sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation. And so this statement is unique among the kings of the northern kingdom. Most northern rulers receive condemnation. But Jehu is commended, pinuri, for obeying God's command. Nevertheless, Jehu was not without faults. Although he removed Baal worship, he failed to eliminate the golden calf shrines established by Jeroboam I at Bethel and Dan. Consequently, his reform was incomplete. He opposed one form of idolatry, which is Baal worship. Pero tinolerate niya naman yung pinatayo ni Jeroboam na mga lugar ng pananambahan sa Bethel at sa Dan. So what are the parallels, no? Interesting kasi may parallel yung resource natin na pinagko-compare si David at saka si Jehu, King Jehu of the Northern King, Jehu son of Nimshi. First, both were divinely chosen and prophetically anointed. Huh? Second, both were military leaders whose victories established their legitimacy. Remember si David, before he became king, he was one of the commanders or one of the promising commanders ni King Saul. Third, both received dynastic promises from God. However, yung kay King Jehu rather ay 4th generation, kay David was a continuing lasting covenant with Yahweh sa pag-aari. And then like David, Jehu was portrayed as God's chosen instrument during a time of national crisis. Yung kay David, the national crisis was against the Philistines. Kay Jehu naman dun sa maling pamamahala ni King Ahab or ni King Jehoram. Then what are the important theological themes we can consider when we talk about the story of the life of Jehu? Yeah? Definitely, and this is an obvious fact, God judges sin. The destruction of Ahab's house demonstrates that God's judgment may be delayed, but it is never forgotten. The prophecies delivered through Elijah were fulfilled through during Jehu's reign. And then God uses imperfect instruments. Jehu was neither a flawless leader nor a perfect reformer. Yet God used him to accomplish divine purposes. This reminds readers that God often works through imperfect individuals. Third and fourth, obedience brings blessing. Jehu's obedience in carrying out God's judgment resulted in a dynastic promise extending to 4 generations. His actions show that God rewards faithfulness. At last, yung malungkot na part, incomplete reform has consequences. Although Jehu eliminated Baal worship, he tolerated the golden calves. His failure to pursue complete covenant fidelity prevented deeper spiritual renewal in Israel. So how do we end itong paghahari ni King Jehu? Jehu remains one of the most complex kings in biblical history. He was a military commander, divinely appointed reformer, si Elijah at saka kay Elisha, founder of Israel's longest lasting northern dynasty, and a recipient of God's approval. So sinasabi dito, yung mga dynasties sa Northern Kingdom, dynasty ni Jeroboam, dynasty ni Omri, no? Hindi ito nagtagal. The biblical narrative presents Jehu as both a hero of divine judgment and a warning about the dangers of partial, hindi complete, partial faithfulness. For modern readers, Jehu's story provides enduring lessons about leadership, reform, divine justice, and covenant commitment. Ayun po. Kaya po, among the kings of the north, no? Isa po sa mga sabihin natin, hindi kasi anong tawag dito? Nagkaroon kasi ng bias na every time pag Northern Kingdom ay masama, no? Dito pinapakita sa buhay ni King Jehu na meron naman ding lumitaw na mabuting hari, no? Mabuting hari. Okay? So any questions or feedbacks reaction po sa paghahari na ito ni King Jehu na son of Nimshi of the Northern Kingdom? Nalimutan ko lang pag-aralan kung saan nga bang tribes ito si Jehu, pero dapat balikan ko, i-review ko lang anong tribe siya within the Northern Kingdoms. Pastor Andrew, yes po.
Pastor, sino yung pinaka fourth generation na naghari sa clan po ni King Jehu? Sino yung last na niya?
Balikan ko
Sige po, sige po.
At kung hindi ako nagkakamali, si Jeroboam II, pero maganda balikan ko. Ano passage ito? Teka lang. So, 2 Kings chapter 10. Konting antay lang po 2 Kings 10. So, Jehu, and then sa Northern Kingdom si Atel, and then si Joas sa North, Jehoahaz ang anak ni Jehu, at si Zechariah po. Hindi po yung propeta
Apo.
Siya, so yung anak ni Jeroboam II. yung apo ni Jeho ay si Jeroboam II, kapangalan ng ano no, nung unang Jeroboam,
Opo,
at
unang
si
hari ng Jordan.
Zechariah. At ano siya, naghari siya for 6 months lang.
Short-lived lang, Pastor, no?
Oo. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. So mababasa niyo to 2 Kings 15 verse 8. Kung ano, kung gusto niyo pong tingnan yung ano yung succession ng kings within the dynasty ni King Jehu.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you po.
Welcome po.